If you wore polyester and a goofy hat in the 1970s, it usually meant you worked at either McDonald's or any of the other 3,000 fast food chains that dotted the North American landscape. In those days, the 1970s were the golden age of fast food, and it wasn't just the big companies who were coast to coast. There were other national and regional burger joints whose popularity and presence might have been fleeting, but also managed to get in on this new way to feed a growing population who were increasingly on the go and in need of a quick and delicious meal. They all seemed to have their own signature burgers that were the cornerstone of their marketing. McDonald's might have had the Big Mac, which people loved, and this guy, seen here with a shit-eating grin, boasted eating 30,000 of them. But the Burger Chef had its Big Chef, which I guess looks pretty much the same. But they were the first fast food place to offer a kids' meal option for the young ones, and the Fun Meal was introduced in 1973, 6 years ahead of McDonald's Happy Meal. And for about $1 or so, you got a kid-sized burger, fries, soda, and a toy. One place I wished I could have tried back in the day, and still has a single location somewhere in Michigan, is Henry's Burgers. Once a thriving business in the 60s and 70s, their offerings lacked all the aesthetic value of even the most basic of burger joints who were just trying to make a buck, and looked like something you'd only eat to cure a bad hangover. But by all accounts, these nasty-looking things were as high in taste as they were low in nutritional value, and for that, they are saluted. For as much as fast food places claimed back then that their food was a healthier alternative for the family on the go, and had commercials showing kids happily munching on their pre-made burgers, fries high in saturated fat, and washing them down with something that would likely contribute to the gastric irritation issues you'd experience later in life, these places were a staple of our childhood. And those idyllic summer days when school was out, it would be almost supper time, and just when you were sure you'd be called to the supper table to enjoy a pot of steaming pea soup with buns to sop it up, your dad would announce, "Get your shoes on, kids, we're going to McDonald's." You were so excited you could hardly contain yourself, and you'd think that he just announced a trip to Disneyland. And for the entire drive, you and your siblings would talk excitedly about what you were going to order. Now, I never got a chance to go to Disneyland in the 70s, but I'm sure I'd react the same way if I got out of eating pea soup, regardless of what the meal replacement was. I don't think fast food places are held in even a fraction of the esteem they once were. Kids don't get excited about much of anything these days unless you wag a new iPhone in their face or tickets to a Billie Eilish concert. But there was a time in what seemed like the ancient past when these places stood as the focal point of every community. A second congregation place after Sunday Mass, a gathering point for every Little League team after a baseball game. You might unexpectedly run into another family you know while there and decide on a whim to eat together. The kids would sit at one table while the adults ate, then smoked at another. But those days are long gone, and all that's left are these old abandoned buildings where, if you listen closely, you can still hear the faint sounds of the joyous laughter of the children from that bygone era.